right, let's knock into this thing. What do you say, Mr. Drew?
Absolutely.
You ready?
Yeah.
Today, welcome back to the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. Today we have with us Mr. Drew Beskin. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here. I was excited, man. Very excited for this. When I shot you the invite, I didn't know that you were going to drop a tune just to come on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
You were advertising for the podcast, right?
I need to get the eyes. Here. I need to get the ears here. I need to make sure.
Absolutely. I think you did it because that is a great song, man.
Thank you so much.
I love it. It's
Thank
very
you.
like indie pop rocky, very upbeat,
So,
like a little funny kind of. You know what I mean?
So not to bore you with the details.
No, please do. Please
but
do. That's why you're here.
So we were going to make a record in March of this year, and that got kicked back a few months, just of course with everything with COVID,
Obvious reasons.
but I had so we made a record. It's going to come out next year. We had 10 songs for the record, and then I haven't released anything under my own name or just any of my own songs.
It's been a couple years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a little over 2 years, and usually what I like to do is write 10 songs, and then when I get really close to the studio dates, write one more just to kind of
in the moment kind of thing.
Yeah, feel a little fresh and just like something that I haven't been like thinking too much on. And but that's regardless. We went into the studio I think about July, and then we recorded basic tracks and all the guitars and everything but vocals.
What studio are you using?
Chase Park Transduction.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
We did that with Drew Vandenberg.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
And he's fantastic. And I made a few. My first band called the District Attorneys. We had a band maybe like 10 years ago, and the first record, like official, like full album we ever made was with Drew. And Drew has since gone on to do very, very cool things with. He's done all the Future Bird stuff. He's done the last few Faye Webster stuff.
Chase Park's the place to be, man. It's very nice. I recorded
absolutely.
there. I liked it. I was very impressed with the whole setup, the Neve, and everything.
It was great. And with the COVID protocols, it made us stay like in the actual studio room, so like we couldn't go behind the control board, which I kind of liked because we were a little more efficient that way, and not a lot of breaks or anything like that.
A lot of sitting around checking the mix and everything.
Exactly. And we did that, and we did everything but vocals, and then we went to the studio Gift Horse that Matt Martin runs or co-runs.
Where's that at?
It's on the Chase Street warehouses area. And it's a great studio. All the Hefner. Are you familiar with Hefner?
Yeah, definitely.
They just finished wrapping their record there. There's a lot of great sounds coming out of Gift Horse as well. And I went in there with Matt, and we did all the vocals, and then Matt did the mixing and mastering, and we had and I think we had Matt Stossel come play pedal steel on 2 tracks, and then we wrapped it up, and it really only took about 12 days to do everything.
Really, like 10 songs in 12 days.
11 songs in 12 days, but it was spread out over months because you just get there when you can get
consecutive.
In there. Yeah,
that's impressive though, man. A lot of great albums have been made in a short amount of time. You know what I mean? Like I always think that's impressive than like spending a year in there making one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm used to doing it like in 4 or 5 or 6 days.
Really?
But this time I made a conscious effort just because, when I moved to Athens maybe officially about 6 or 7 years ago, and when I first moved up here, within a span I think of 3 or 4, I think the first year is kind of getting used to the theater and everything at the Georgia Theater, and then.
So, quick question, sorry to cut you off, but you moved here to work at the theater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I moved here I lived here. I grew up in Atlanta. Moved to went to college in Indiana University, and then I moved to Athens in about 2009, 2010 for about a year to start that band, the District Attorneys, and I was there for about a year, then moved back to Atlanta and still would go back and forth to Athens. And then I got the opportunity to be the general manager of the Georgia Theater. So with an opportunity like that, I said, hell yeah. And
how did that happen? Like, did you have any venue experience, or does it just come out of left field?
My experience mainly came from booking shows, booking events, raising sponsorship monies for events like parties at South by Southwest, as well as putting on shows, not just in Georgia, but outside of Georgia as well.
Yeah.
But mainly
like shows for other people, or like shows for your band?
Shows for my band, or bands of our status, if not like a little bit bigger, because we weren't like big or anything, but we definitely we definitely gave it a go and toured a good bit, but just kind of always keeping there's the type of musician that just kind of focuses on making music and releasing it, and I did that, but also tried to like get as involved in the scene as possible,
like touring wise and sort of stuff.
Touring, like handling booking and press and just
you kind of have to be your own manager at the start, pretty much, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is cool.
Absolutely.
Kind of immerses you in what you need to understand about everything.
Yeah, and just so a story, or it's kind of archaic, I guess, especially now, but I just remember going to like downtown Atlanta and putting up as many concert posters as possible, and just thinking like, who is seeing a poster with a band that they never heard of and thinking that looks cool? I'll be at that show.
That's it right there. I'm going.
But I mean, and
it's still cool though. It feels like you're doing all you can do, because I still put up posters.
I always just looked at it as kind of good karma.
Yeah, I can see that.
Putting in the work instead of just sitting back on like, well, here's a song. I have a good song, so or at least I think I have a good song.
It's better than after the gig, nobody showing up being like, damn, I should have put posters up at least, or like I should have tried, you know what I mean?
And of course it's not enough just to put the posters up, but you just got you can't expect it to just happen.
Exactly, yeah.
And back with making the record real quick, like we made that, and now it's all mixed and mastered, but we shot a few videos. I do want to make some vinyl for this one, and putting the artwork together. So we're going to release that all at probably near the late spring next year. So since it's just been a little over 2 years, and I don't think anyone is keeping track of when I've released stuff except for in my own head in terms of just like kind of like reps. Like I don't want to, after 2 years, there's been so much development in terms of just, artists that I've been familiar with or worked with, or just seeing how even things like release radar on Spotify works or something like that. And just
a lot can change in 2 years.
A lot can change. And I just figured wanted to release a track that we released last week called The Cut of My Jib, and we're going to release another song in December called Swimming in Bed.
That's a banger.
And thank you very much.
I've listened to it a couple times, dude. It's got a real like think about life vibe to it. Does that make sense? Like it's really like, it's like, wow, this is nice. Like, and then it builds well. And the first couple chords kind of remind me of Live Forever, kind of. Well, is it a G? What is
I think it's a G shape. It's a G shape, but with a capo somewhere. Okay. I think capo on the first fret, maybe. So technically a G.
It starts off with the acoustic, right? And I was like, okay, a little Live Forever vibe here. Yeah. And it kicks into it. It's a great song, man. I like it.
Thank you. But
I don't want to give too many details away.
No, it's all good. But for the two songs we released, figured those two tracks are very special to me. I want to have thought about releasing them as the official singles from the record, but since it doesn't, I do think the song we just released, the next song, I think they're kind of new ground or new territory for me as a musician. I would never go like, oh, what my fans expect. It's more like what gets me excited. And those two songs, particularly, like those two, like really excite me. Even though the official album those two tracks will be on the record, but they're not going to be like the main focus. It's just kind of just want to release some tunes.
Yeah, I feel that. It feels good. And hell, you pulled out almost 10,000 downloads on Spotify this week.
Yeah.
Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
That's fucking nuts, man.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think the most I've had on a solo track is like 8, and I guess it just shows what can happen in 2 years, especially if, I kind of learned from like other bands I manage and seeing like, here, when you're releasing a song, you need to do this before you release that, and also like kind of let everyone know, and it's great, and it's kind of funny, when you're talking about an independent musician who doesn't really release a lot of music, and there's we're talking about 5,000 or 10,000 Spotify things, which doesn't really, that's not.
It's not why you do it.
No, obviously. but it's also
it feels good.
It feels great, but it's also not Chance the Rapper numbers. It's like I could get hung up on like, oh man, I got those 1,000 plays, but got to make sure that hopefully the people, and it's still a huge question, like who's listening and who's sticking around and who's interested, and the type of music that I make, I don't think is necessarily what the mass audiences want, but is the type of music that I like to make, and
that's all you can do, man.
Yeah,
it's really, I try myself to not like attach a certain stream amount to the success of it. It's more or less like when I play it, do I like it, and do like my you know what I mean? Like your people, when you go play it somewhere, they enjoy it. You know what I mean?
And it's gotten to the point where, I'm 33.
Mm-hmm.
I love playing live, but that's definitely not a big part of my life
So you're
anymore.
a studio guy, eh?
I mean, but also if any like real engineer was sitting here and me saying I'm a studio guy, they would barf into a trash bin because I don't know anything technical.
Yeah.
And
your records sound great, man. I listened to your whole
you.
catalog and I was like, wow, none of this sounds like he was learning, like you were like made a bad one, you learned from it. I was like, all this sounds really consistent and solid.
Well, I appreciate that. I do like this new record. Like I tried to go. I was telling you I moved into a new home, so when I was packing up everything, I started since I was listening. I was focused listening on these final masters, and I was like, well, let's see how it compares to the old stuff. Because really, when you do this, when I do this, I just want to kind of continue to learn or do better than I did before.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm writing songs that aren't as good as the ones before, then what's the point?
Exactly. Yeah.
And if I'm not learning, so the reason why this record took 12 days instead of 5 or 4 or 5 is because I really wanted to
get them right.
I wanted to get them right. Yeah. I want at first I thought I was going to make more of just a rock record with you really only hear the main tracks on there, but the more I thought about it, and there's a lot of violin on there, a lot of strings on the record. Annie Leith performed on about 5 or 6 tracks. She's fantastic.
She is. I've heard her. I saw her at the 40 Watt on The Cut of My Jib. What is that? I guess it's a violin in the first verse. Is that what that is? Sounds like a mellotron kind of sort of thing.
So there's this one like kind of Motown lick that kind of comes up, like it's like
it kind of matches the melody thing. Yeah.
And it's kind of a steal from My Girl, but not technically. I had the melody. See, that one's not really fair to Annie's talents because that was just like, here, we play this lick. But there's some other tracks where it's like, here's a space and see what you create in there, and that was really some of the special stuff.
Yeah, she really is talented.
But yeah, like that. I just love the idea of.
I love strings on a rock record, man. I really do. Like even the whole orchestra thing, I think is cool.
And I mean, we talk about OASIS. You and I talk about OASIS
all the time.
A lot, and they do that a lot.
Let's see, which would be the biggest strings album? Be Here Now, probably. They kind of went crazy with the
guess,
strings and
with
the
like
horns.
all around the world and stuff. I mean, it's on. I mean, I know there's at least cello on Wonderwall. And and you got your cello there.
Whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they all got
absolutely.
Strings. Yeah.
And I do love a band that on record they go. It sounds like $1 million, but then live it's 2 guitars, maybe an organ, bass, drums, and singing.
They kind of don't care. You know
and just
what I mean?
They rock it out, and they can live in both spaces.
Yeah, because that's something I had trouble with at first. I was like, man, am I gonna be able to do this live? But kind of, it doesn't really matter. Like they're 2 separate entities in a way. You know what I mean?
I have no idea how we would ever pull off the song we just released live. Though, like we'd have to have some dance moves or something like that. But
I think you owe it to the song to get it right in the studio, as opposed to like, oh, it's got to be live. We got to be able to do this live. Like we can't put that extra on there because we can't play it live. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
that track, Cut of My Jib, is going to be the second to last track on the record, and I've always, I don't know, leaned toward putting the goofy, fun song second to last track on the record. I don't know where. It's
kind of funny that we have stuff like that. Like I have I have my own mental thing too. Like this needs to go here. You know what I mean? And it really probably doesn't make sense to anybody else, but to us, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, and then like we were talking about different musicians and everything. There's this my friend Tito Stone, who is I think one of my favorite singers in general, and a great songwriter and great musician and great.
He's Athens based, isn't he?
He's Athens based. He lives in Covington, but he's been around for a while. And my band and his band have always been. We've always done shows together, and for a long time I've been just kind of his pseudo manager. And then we released a record of his in July of this year that we made last year. That I was one of the guitarists in the band and co-wrote the songs with him and co-produced with Drew Vandenberg and Matt Martin as well. And just being able to, I forgot where I even was going with that with the
you love it, stuff. You love it.
But it's I forgot what we were talking about with that. But that's a great record.
What was it called?
It's called Same Old Kid. And okay, I knew where I was going with that. So beautiful. Tito, he's kind of a true. He's got like 3 kids. three small kids.
Yeah.
And if you hear this guy sing, he's got one of the just he sounds like Brittany Howard. He can go like Brittany. He can go as high as like Alabama Shake stuff, and he's got great presence and everything like that. But he's when the record was done, he wasn't really the stuff that I obsess over is like what a true record is like. The ordering, like what's the first track, what's the last sequence,
how much space between them,
and I don't think that's something that really interests him as much as it interested me. So he's like, well, yeah, whatever. That's cool.
Sounds good.
And of course, and we were talking about Spotify and everything. Like, what does that even matter? In the true essence of a record, like for me, it was talking about the 2 years thing, like. There's still a part of me that that's kind of stinging. Like I'm just releasing one song this year or 2 songs. Like I like that. To me personally, releasing like 10 or 11 songs a year feels like a good.
Feels right.
Feels like
I worked this year.
Like I did that. Like I paid attention to that part of my life. But there's something to be said about, this new record is more lush. It's spent more time in production, spent more time making sure the vocals are perfect, or as perfect as they can be, and background vocals, and making sure like, we didn't if a song didn't need something, they didn't need it, but we just put that 12 days instead of 6 was really cool. That doesn't. I just watched that. Are you a Springsteen fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you heard the new record?
I have not. It's what is it called? I saw an ad for it. I need to listen to it.
Letter to You.
Yeah, that's it. Letter.
Don't let the album cover, which I don't think is that great, fool you. That is Danny Clinch who did it, who's a legendary rock and roll photographer.
Yeah.
And if you look at the whole sequence of photos he did for the Springsteen record, it's actually pretty cool. But this guy's 72 years old. Yeah, I read.
Didn't know he was that old.
72, and he released, I think, his best full record, start to finish, since Tunnel of Love. I think it's.
I think there's a documentary too with it, isn't there?
So that's documentary, it's. So we kept reading about it. So excited. Got the record. I someone sent me like a torrent or whatever a week in advance, so I got to know that because the documentary came out the day the record came out, but I had a week of listening to the record, and everything was saying like, oh, they booked 5 days in the studio, they did it in 4, and I'm thinking kind of back in my mind like 72-year-old legend, the best, but like
absolutely,
I'm sure that they all knew the songs very well going in, and like I'm sure
they did some rehearsing,
and maybe they're saying they got the drums and the bass and like down, and then like spent a lot of time mixing, but like no, the documentary kind of proves that like he had these songs and he brought the band in, the E Street Band.
10 songs or how many?
I think it's 12.
Really?
Maybe 14, but some of these songs are long.
Dude, that's crazy.
And they're great.
Three
of the
songs. Ballsy, like to be an established artist, and like you could spend as much time. He could spend 3 years in there if he wanted to.
Absolutely.
And he just went in and knocked it out in 4 days.
Yeah, but that also is a testament to the E Street Band. Like you see Max Weinberg, like he's still
they are
amazing. But I think the whole record is fantastic.
I'm gonna have to listen to it. I need to listen to it a week and then watch the documentary, right?
Yeah,
Don't you think?
I think so.
Okay, I love documentaries. So.
I do too.
It's so much fun.
But I love it. And this one is more just like a behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Because I've been thinking a lot about music documentaries lately. I watched this one on Herb Alpert. Are you familiar with him?
I don't think so.
He was.
Is he a blues guy?
He's a trumpet player.
Okay.
The Tijuana Brass or whatever. You would know a few of the songs if you heard it. But he was like a huge like trumpet player who would like sell out stadiums and stuff. But he also sung vocals on one Burt Bacharach song that went to #1. He was also a huge A&R. He co-founded A&R Records. So
wow, okay.
he's done like a bit of everything.
Is it on Netflix, YouTube?
It's on
where do I need to check
Amazon.
This out? Okay, yeah, I have Amazon. There's some good ones
but that
there.
documentary was okay.
It was okay.
It was just okay. Like I was like, oh, I can't wait to learn about Herb Alpert, and it was cool for the first 20 minutes, but near the end, it was just him kind of doing a trumpet version of a Jason Mraz song. I was like, you're one of the coolest. Like, it should be bigger.
I hate to say it, but I hate it when they spend too much long on like their childhood. I mean, I understand that that's important, but like, fuck, get to when the cool band comes. Like, you know what I mean?
Did you ever see It Might Get Loud?
It might get loud. No, I don't think so.
That's The Edge
Who's that?
and
Oh.
Jimmy Page and Jack White.
Oh yeah, they all get together and play. They played on TV all the time.
Yeah, but they get together and like
they play like Kashmir and stuff.
No, they don't. They play The Weight by the band in some different key, and it's just the three of them, like three guitar gods,
three
like just kind of strumming. It's
called If I Get Together.
It's called It Might Get Loud.
Oh, sorry. Shit.
It Might Get Loud, but I think it was a failure of the music documentary because I was very excited. There's some cool parts to it, but
even just think with that trio there.
Yeah, but that Springsteen one is like that's kind of how I.
There's a couple Springsteen ones, isn't there? I feel like he's had such a long.
But this one is just like for the like if you just like music, he's playing. Mm-hmm. He plays a song with the band every like 5 minutes, and the rest he's talking about what the songs are about. And you kind of see him in the studio, kind of telling everyone what to do, and like he has Clarence Clemens' son in there playing sax for the first time, saying, let's honor Clarence, and like Danny Federici, their original keyboardist, was in there, and he's like, he's one of the few artists that like when he says something, you believe it.
It has some weight to it.
It has some weight to it,
yeah.
And he's not like putting on.
Yeah, like you never would think he'd sold out at any point.
No, or he's
even
faking it or anything.
He's like the real deal. I love Atlantic City. Do you like that song? Oh, that's such a good song.
So that song, I could talk about that song for a good bit because
there's
like
3 covers of it. I think
there's so many covers
that are good.
There's so many covers of it, but like, and I was in a fraternity in college, but I have had a bunch of friends. Most of my friends were.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Athens the first time, my band played. I just graduated. All my friends were either seniors or a year below, or in graduate school, or doing a victory lap, as they say in Athens. And
gotta do it.
And you do a few covers, and I love Atlantic City, and I do love the band version of it.
Yeah,
too.
I love the band version too. It's very nice.
But then you'll meet someone who isn't as into like who wrote what song, which I'm very like, I love to know who wrote what and everything and the history, and like we would do, our band would cover Atlantic. It would be one of our like 3 or 4 like covers, and we would do Atlantic City, and we would do it. I guess Capo on the 3rd Fret is what I remember, which I think is I think is where
I think Bruce does it like that, right?
Yeah, or maybe we did on the 2nd Fret, but either we did kind of like a rock version of the band version, and was like, oh, I love that, I love that band song. Like, it's Bruce Springsteen. You gotta listen to Nebraska and like.
Oh man, Nebraska's a great record.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to get my band to do Atlantic City. You kind of just I guess it's not a secret, but I've like wanted to do it like a distorted like rock version of which everybody does because it's such a great song, fun to sing along. I feel like everybody kind of knows it.
It's a great it's a great tune. But yeah, there was this, I guess where I'm trying to get at is like, and I'll segue properly.
Yeah, please.
Did you watch the new David Byrne thing?
I have not seen it.
The spot, I guess it's from his tour. It's called American Utopia, and it was from this tour he did, where I guess it was like a theater tour, and it ended up being on Broadway. And I guess Spike Lee came in at the end, and they filmed it for like, I guess it's on HBO.
Okay.
But
I have to watch this.
And it's just like this, just like if you go to any theater, it's just like it could have been done at Georgia Theater.
Yeah.
And it's like him and his band. There's like 10-12 piece band. They have the percussion like broken out, so there's not like drummers sitting behind a kit. Like someone is like walking around with the tom, and someone's walking around with the snare. Yeah. Someone's walking around with the bass, and like and it's this visual thing. It's super simple, but you got like 12 people, and I bet if you put the kit together, it'd be more like 6 or 7. But it's just like they're walking around dancing. They're all in these silver suits.
Yeah.
And where I was going with that was when I was in college, and whether it's me in Indiana or me going home or me visiting Athens, and everyone, if you're in college, you love Stop Making Sense, and you love The Last Waltz.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I loved it too.
Yeah.
But it's on a different level. Like you go to a party and you see like, I guess frat dogs or whatever. I have nothing against people, but people like doing the beer pong and have The Last Waltz in the background, and like, well, you're ingesting that entertainment a different way. Not saying that their way isn't pure.
Yeah, gotcha.
And not saying that my way is pure. It's just, and I'll bring that story back with a little ramble because I was talking about the other day. Like, I love Journey.
I do too.
The band Journey.
Separate Ways.
Great
Like, fucking song.
I love that band, and I got into that band when I was maybe a junior or senior in high school.
Okay.
So junior and senior high school, me going home, getting the CDs, or like getting the CDs and listening to it, and like learning guitar, getting the guitar magazines, like knowing every
guitar player,
right, like Neil Sean, Steve Perry, Ross Valerie, Steve Smith, and Jonathan Cain, like, and I just know that for some reason. I don't know why, and like I know that Steve Perry like co-wrote, but for Lovin', Touchin', Squeezin', he wrote that all by himself. Like that's awesome, and that's a great song.
Yeah.
But and then I go to college, and you get the fake ID, you go to the bar, and everyone in the bar is screaming, "Don't stop believing!" I'm like, these people have a different. And of course, and there was that story, or when the White Sox won the World Series, and I think "Don't Stop Believing" was a big song of that. And that's a Chicago team, and Indiana. There are a lot of kids, like a lot of kids from Chicago, New York would come to Indiana because it's kind of a college town for the more northern big city folks. And that's something that always interested me because like then I have friends now who are like, oh, Journey are lame. Like, well, I would admit that the underage bar scene with playing Don't Stop Believing and Journey, like that can make it lame. Or like Dave Matthews Band fans can make Dave Matthews lame, but like still got to appreciate Dave Matthews for what he is, and you still got to appreciate Journey for what it is.
It blows my mind, man. It'll be like a huge song. They'll be like, that song fucking sucks.
Right.
Like, does it?
Right. It doesn't.
Come on.
Does it suck because you think it's fucked out? Because like I was reading, and not to jump to a different thing. I was reading this.
Please do.
This Paul Thomas Anderson thing. Are you familiar with him? The director, There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, Magnolia.
I feel like I kind of am, not very.
He's a great director, and he's considered one of the. He's the guy. If he releases a movie, it gets nominated for an Oscar. It's like him and Tarantino. I mean, of course, Tarantino is a little more,
notable.
More notable in a full scale, like parents and kids and people who don't care about movies will go see a Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah. They might not go see a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, but they should. But Paul Thomas Anderson is an art film director who does get a big release in theaters. It wouldn't always go to video on demand.
Paul Thomas Anderson?
Paul Thomas Anderson.
I feel like I know who this is. I can't put a face on him.
He's
Continue
great.
on. Sorry.
He's great. But he was saying, I was reading something, I guess maybe it's John Krasinski.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
The Office? Yeah.
But he also directed A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Which was
scary movie.
And he wrote it too, I believe. And he's obviously a big star. I think for a while, John Krasinski was trying to become more of a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. He released an independent film that, people talked about, but wasn't a big deal. I think it was Brief Interviews with Hideous Men. And then he tried to co-write a movie with Matt Damon called The Promised Land, and Matt Damon had Good Will Hunting, and obviously Matt Damon's a huge star.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think Promised Land really took off.
Yeah.
But Quiet Place did. So now
Quiet Place was huge.
And now John Krasinski is in this other league now where he can be because Quiet Place is a blockbuster type movie.
Yeah,
the movies he tried to make were more of these kind of art house films. So now he's in a very cool, unique place where he obviously made Quiet Place 2, and that got delayed from COVID, and I'm sure he's going to take that clout and make whatever he thinks his art statement would be. But he made a comment to Paul Thomas Anderson about a movie he saw. I don't think it was recorded or anything, but he's like, oh, it wasn't a very good movie. And Paul Thomas Anderson's like, don't say it wasn't a good movie. Say it like it wasn't for you because it was an art film, and if there's going to be more Paul Thomas Andersons or more John Krasinski, I think, and I don't know him obviously, but in A Quiet Place crushed, and kind of I see you have the John Mayer CD there,
great
and
record.
Heavier Things. That is a great record. I really love Continuum.
Oof.
and that first record,
No Such Thing.
I think it's called Room for Squares.
Oh, you're right. That's my favorite one.
The first big
it's
single.
Acousticy.
I like that track. It's City Love. That's a great track.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
one.
very
Yeah,
Hendrixy.
yeah.
And of course, and everyone knows the John Mayer stories where he, wanted to be Stevie Ray Vaughan or Jimi Hendrix, but he was like, okay, everyone's doing that, and he had the chops, but he's like, well, how do you break through? I'm not gonna go and try and do just go play blues bars. He picked up the acoustic guitar and wrote.
Why Georgia?
Why Georgia and Your Vi's Wonderland.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. Like a Fox is I don't think that's really the type of music that was in. It's music. I love all types of music.
Yeah.
So if I went and made a pop record or made a I do love
reggae.
hip hop.
I like hip hop.
But
I
I don't
like
think
EDM, man.
Right.
I kind of like all that
I
stuff.
do not like EDM. but there's good. But I respect it.
I like the EDM that has singing. I don't like the
Yes.
straight EDM. I guess
Right.
it's just really pop now. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But like,
Absolutely.
I don't like the just artificial energy EDM. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I don't like the stuff that sounds like, I would go to these parties and like there would just be loud music. Like, hey, we can listen to anything we want to. We can have a mix of music too.
Yeah, we can play everything.
But like John Mayer, like after he established himself, like even with that second record, like he started to kind of do more what he wanted to do. And
Daughters.
and of course a song like Daughters is great.
Daughters, great
But
song.
that's like a
cut.
Randy Newman track.
Yeah.
that song won I think Song of the Year.
I think it was a Grammy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He beat out and I think Daughters is great. He did beat out Alicia Keys for
I've
If I
heard
Ain't
this
Got
story.
You.
Yeah.
And I think If I Ain't Got You is better.
I think he broke it in half. You heard this?
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Really? She told him that she should have won that year, and
Oh,
he
did
laughed.
she?
So he broke it in half and gave her half his Grammy. It's a good
That's
story.
funny.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the inside of this record? Look at this.
I have not.
There's like a whole theme in this thing.
Interesting.
I think it's in there. Like
That's
each
cool.
song has a color.
Oh,
And it
that's
gives,
really cool.
It gives the BPM. It's just like weird. I was looking at it yesterday because my dad gave me this great record.
That's very.
And it's like they've got the mood and like the
Wow.
tempo. It's really like a cool concept.
See, like I'm even giving like I should even give him more credit. Like,
Yeah, it's really
and again,
cool.
I'm not. I don't even think I'm. I think I know more about John Mayer just because he's such a big celebrity. I remember getting my sister Continuum for a gift, and I was like, "Let me borrow that for a second."
That's for me.
It's actually really good, and there's some great tracks. So the example and where I was going with the movie thing is like John Mayer's career. And I'm not saying I don't think John Krasinski thinks anything less about A Quiet Place, but it's not Citizen Kane
Gotcha.
or anything like that. But like
perception kind of thing, right?
But John Krasinski has to position himself with the studios or whoever where he could say like, here's what I want to make. Like and Paul and I just really liked that sentiment. Like there are a lot of bands that I'll see, and I would never say like this band sucks.
Yeah,
but.
It just wasn't for you.
I would say that I'm not a fan of that type of music.
Gotcha. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think people, like kind of like you're saying, like people mistake that for like thinking they're bad when it just doesn't make sense to you. Like I still don't really get the jam thing quite yet. It's kind of growing on me, but like it's a huge thing in Athens, so I understand that obviously it resonates with these group of people. So I don't think they suck. I just don't get it yet.
Yeah,
you know
the jam thing's interesting because
it is interesting.
To me, at the end of the day, if it's a good song, that's really all I care about. And I don't think I'm prone. I don't love 18-minute tracks or 9-minute tracks or 7-minute tracks. But if it's a good song and if the solo is playing on the like I like solos that kind of like more like Neil Young type solos, even though
melodic kind of thing.
There's obviously a place for tapping and shredding. I love that too. So I feel like there's no rules, and to say anything that's definitive is kind of hurts the cause, I guess, of art in general. Like, I got that Rolling Stone 500, the 500, the 500 greatest albums of all time.
I read it. It was yesterday,
they redid.
right? Yeah,
I think it was most recent.
Yeah, it's been pretty recent because I saw like some critics' reviews about how whack it was or something.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet.
But like growing up as a kid, and I think this was a revised one, just because they're going to update every once in a while. And I remember like I think my mom and dad got me like the
physical copy.
Yeah, the physical copy like
Back in the day.
500. I remember like Sgt. Pepper's number 1, Pet Sounds number 2.
It's not anymore, is it? It's been bumped down, hasn't it?
It's not.
Yeah.
But like as a kid, I was like, okay, well, Rolling Stone said it's gospel. But now, like I read, I was like, okay, well, this is like 50 people who kind of put in their sense. And sure, they might work for Rolling Stone or have the respect for Rolling Stone, but
and they have political aspirations. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like, and I'm a huge Harry Styles fan.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
I love that record.
Yeah.
It is.
Where's it at?
It's the fact that it is in the top 500 greatest records of all time is a little suspect.
It is
Even though I love that record and am
great.
happy that it's on there, I do feel like some time should pass before, like maybe more
Isn't
than
that what makes it great, kind of?
Right.
Like
because it got released in December of last year, and it's already
it hasn't proven the test of time yet.
Right. But even though I do love that record.
Yeah, maybe there should be like a 10-year cap. Like you can qualify after 10 years if it stood the test
Just
of time.
like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Exactly, yeah. Even though that's kind of whack too, you know what I mean?
That is true. Like it's crazy that like Tom Waits isn't in there yet. But like, but like Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, and I'm a big Marvin Gaye fan. I don't think that album would be number one.
Yeah, is that what it was?
Yeah,
really.
I do. Now, if you're picking greatest songs of all time, I think What's Going On.
It's fantastic.
Could be number one because I think it used to, I don't think they've done a new greatest songs of all time, but I know it used to be like a Rolling Stone.
I think they do it,
which is a great song.
Yeah,
not my favorite song of all time.
Yeah,
but what's going on? If you break that down, that's the best song.
That's a good concept.
If someone said if like What's Going On, the song is the greatest song of all time, like hell yeah. But I can name 2 or 3 Marvin Gaye records as a whole from start to finish that I personally think is better than What's Going On.
Yeah,
but
I just don't know what would justify like the change. You know what I mean? Like what would, like those Marvin Gaye and the Beatles record, they've been out for nearly the same amount of time. What would make you say, oh, well, 5 years ago it was the Beatles. Now I think the Marvin Gaye one's better. Like,
and what makes an album? Like, is it because of because the song What's Going On? Like I could talk an hour about just the music and melody, but also the lyrics. That's more important than the message is definitely way more important than anything on Sgt. Pepper's. Even though, so it just depends on what are we looking at that makes a record.
That's true. I never really thought of it that way. I guess I don't know. I guess maybe they just do that stuff just for like clout, you know what I mean, or attention. And it works, I'm sure.
But you mentioned things being politicized. I mean, there's no. I mean, that definitely goes into
for sure.
It goes into consideration, and
maybe there's a Marvin Gaye 50th anniversary drop coming this year. You know what I mean? Like this is gonna stoke it up. Like you know what I mean? And stuff like that you got to consider.
And we're getting close to like, the top 10. Like all these artists deserve to be in there. But like, but then like because like when you get even like the top 50, like and they have it pretty close. I mean, and we're talking about like. Like margin, like narrow margins. But
I like to I'm sure you do too. I like to mentally rank albums like for myself. You know what I mean? Like we used to do a segment on the show where we would rank like the 10 songs off What's the Story, Morning Glory, or something like that. We should have did that today. We should have did an Oasis one. But I just like doing that. It's kind of for myself though, and I always say like. Literally in like 3 weeks, this could be completely different, but this is my current ranking.
And this is
you know
how
what I mean?
feel today with the weather and being outside.
The vibe, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. And maybe that's the reason why What's Going On the album, what's on there, because the theme's on there. But, that could change in terms of, I guess, what makes something important.
Yeah.
Is it because you can snap your fingers to it? Is it because, because there are Quincy Jones, I've been thinking a lot about Quincy Jones lately. I don't know why. And just I was thinking about the record, the Michael Jackson record, Off the Wall, and just like all the insane, like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Just
he did
insane.
Thriller and all those, right? I think he did the last 3 Michael ones.
Yeah, like I think he did the 3 big ones.
I think Thriller was the first one he did.
He did Off the Wall, then Thriller. Then,
you're right.
Then he did Bad. I believe.
Okay, great records.
And I'm not sure. And I really. I don't know what he did on Dangerous, if he did anything on Dangerous, but those string arrangements and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, like in and of itself, like like that in of itself is like worthy of a whatever. And then of course, like Michael Jackson's whole thing, the fact that he's there a very good chance that
very solid chance
that he did some of the most horrific things on the planet.
That kind of hurt him for me. Like I don't know if it's true or whatever, but like I noticed I've definitely listened less since I saw the documentary. Of course. Is that just me? I think that's fair.
I mean that's how I feel. I grew up listening to Bill Cosby CDs.
Yeah.
And I love Bill Cosby because he was like, oh man, he's such a down earth guy, and he expresses these thoughts and he does it in such a nice way. And don't get me wrong, I listen to George Carlin and I love foul mouth comedians, but I was like, Bill Cosby, such a nice guy and such a thoughtful guy. Dude. And of course, he ended up doing, grew up watching the Cosbys, and they taught about the Cosby Show in my telecommunications class. But now it's a.
I'm sure they revised that for that class.
Or like I'm a big Ryan Adams fan.
Yeah.
And that
I really don't know much about him.
He
does the Wonderwall covers, is that right?
He did the Wonderwall.
His Wonderwall cover is fantastic, and now Noel kind of does it like him, doesn't he? Which is fucking awesome.
But Ryan Adams, he's he's released so many records,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got so many. And I love bands that have B-sides, like great B-sides and unreleased tracks, which is why I love Oasis.
Yeah,
But
there's so many.
But Ryan Adams was essentially the poster child in the music side of the Me Too movement because
Gotcha.
he got, there was a huge New York Times article, and he
Yeah.
essentially got canceled big time.
Really?
And yes,
I did not know that.
And there are a few things that the way if Phoebe, if you're familiar with Phoebe Bridgers.
Phoebe Bridgers. It's with a P, right?
Yeah.
PH. Yeah, definitely.
She's kind of like she did that album with Conor Oberst, and she released that great record this year, and she's kind of like, over the last 2 or 3 years, she's really exploded as
I feel like I see a lot about her on Rolling Stone, the Instagram page.
Yeah, she's huge, and she's one of those artists like when Bon Iver got nominated for Best New Artist, even though it was his second record, and that first record his first record was a pretty big success.
Yeah.
But that second record, Grammys put him like nominated for Album of the Year, but also Best New Artist.
Okay.
And they're saying Phoebe Bridgers would probably get nominated for Best New Artist.
Gotcha. Okay.
Even though she had released a fantastic debut record maybe a year or two ago.
I've wondered how that works. Like they'll win Best New Artist and they've been doing it for 10 years. Like I don't really understand.
Well, it's kind of like what we're talking about with the Spotify plays. Like I'm excited about 5,000, 6,000, but
you should be.
But but artists who are kind of like in contention for anything, it's usually like the 20 million per song type range. And like Phoebe, like even Bon Iver, like I interned at Jaguar, Secretly Canadian, Dead Oceans, these 3 record labels that kind of all operated out of each other when I was in Indiana. Yeah. And they had just released that first Bon Iver record that went gold. It sold 500,000 records. So selling 500,000 records, that's millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
But
almost unheard of nowadays.
Nowadays. And then he released a second record, but he's still Best New Artist. For me, I would think that if you were able to go gold, you would be in contention for Best New Artist. The first record, but that's kind of the thing. Like my mom knows who the Foo Fighters are.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who Phoebe Bridgers is. She doesn't know. She probably doesn't know who Bon Iver is.
Yeah,
and
he's got the song with Taylor Swift now, right? What's it called?
Oh yeah, it's called.
It was a single. Maybe it wasn't a single. It was a surprise drop, so it wasn't a single.
Yeah, it's like the third track off the record. It's great.
Yeah, I like it.
God damn it! I know the whole. I don't know the whole record very well.
We'll know when we see it.
But I know the Bon Iver lick is the cry. Anyway, it's just the perception of like what we think, like even for Georgia Theater example.
Yeah.
1,000-cap venue. Phoebe Bridgers at this point has no business playing a 1,000-cap venue. She would play a venue 3 or 4 times that size
easily, probably, right?
Easily. But we would see someone who sell out the Georgia Theater and someone who can consistently sell out a 1,000-cap venue across this country.
They made it kind of to me. What I mean? It's like, wow, that's a dream.
The dream is to. It's not to make money so you can buy fancy things, so you can focus on your art.
Yeah, for real. Like put out the music you want and play to crowds.
Because a lot of people like, a lot of bands that that you and I think, oh man, they got it made. Like they're still doing music as their side gig.
Gotcha.
And they still have to do their 9 to 5 to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
And it's just interesting. Like, because by the time you get to Best New Artist, you're already kind of, you're already like a complete, completely different level.
On humongous standards, I suppose. So let's see, were we going with something there? I forgot.
I think it's really.
We're just talking about bands.
It's just like perception. I was talking about the Ryan Adams thing in terms of Phoebe Bridgers was one of the accusers, or like because he dated her and he was married to Mandy Moore and all this stuff. And if you read the article, I mean he did some pretty bad stuff.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the movement thing.
I don't know if anything that Ryan Adams did was necessarily or has been proven necessarily illegal, but definitely behavior that is not okay anymore.
Yeah, gotcha.
Behavior that was probably accepted 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago, and they could just go, oh, that's just rock stars, or that's just a producer taking advantage of their stardom or something like.
Gotcha.
It was kind of how like Louis C.K. for the Me Too comedy stuff, and then Ryan Adams for the music stuff, which is to say that they're not nearly as bad as Harvey Weinstein and Bill Cosby.
For real, yeah.
But still unacceptable nevertheless.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy.
But because of that, you know, and I grew up listening to a lot of Ryan Adams. Like, I just don't like.
Yeah.
It's turned me off.
Yeah, like
that.
it kind of changes things, unfortunately. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it was almost a lot more fun to listen when I was a lot more unaware of everything.
And of course, I don't want to not know.
Yeah, like
but
I remember. Sorry to cut you off,
No.
but I remember when I found out like the whole Nashville system of songwriting, to where like all the big guys, you know, they don't write; they just buy the songs from the publishers or whatever, however it works. But I remember just being really bummed because like I was like in middle school, I was living in a country town. I really like country, and then I found out that like my favorite country singer writes nothing of what I've been hearing. I was like, well, fuck, I thought he was just putting out countless bangers, you know what I mean? That like he wrote and like this is him, you know what I mean?
Or you'll see like something that has like 8 songwriting.
Yeah,
credits.
yeah, exactly, on one song.
I have a friend who co-wrote the band Sugarland.
Yeah, they were big.
He co-wrote their very first like #1 single.
Let's see, what's it called?
It's called Little Girl. It was before. It was before the record that like had like mainstream success.
Yeah, they had
like,
a huge song there for a while.
Yeah, they had a bunch that like crossed into the regular charts or whatever, like the crossover thing. But you know, he was kind of telling me like, you know, he wrote the most of the song, and then like the other 3 members at the time like came in and kind of finished it. But you know, divide up songwriting credits essentially. And because you know that was kind of, you know, that songwriting world, like
it's like a universe in Nashville,
right,
in LA or whatever.
And I think it's not as simple as like, hey, I have these great songs. Who wants them? Like you have to pay your dues, and you have to like you figure out.
I can't imagine giving away a song though, because like I thought about it, I was like, oh, maybe after Athens I'll go to Nashville and do the whole songwriter thing, because I love to write music. I was like, fuck, I cannot imagine just writing a song that just like this is it, and being like under a deal where I have to give it away.
Right, and like I also do love, I romanticize the old world of like Paul Simon and Carole King, like all in these songwriter workshops. Like they go in to their office, which is a keyboard and guitar, and like they're just drinking tea. And, like,
that's kind of what I wanted.
Oh yeah. But
without giving the songs away.
Right, but like in Nashville they have like these songwriting sessions, and I had a buddy of mine just sent me like this acoustic track.
Yeah.
And it's literally just like 4 chords with like maybe like he like sung like one like melody line, and he sent it to me and just like ideas. Yeah. And so like, and I was thinking like, well, I can't put my ideas on that. I started writing lyrics like, but I think I want that. No, I'm not going to think like that. Like the genesis of whatever ideas I have for this track came from him saying that to me. So I'm just going to play off that. Yeah. I'm not going to dig into my other bag of ideas or something, and just kind of like live in that moment. And in that sense, the co-writing thing's really, really cool.
That is cool. I haven't done it enough. I've kind of struggled with it because like say somebody I'm in a band with writes a song and gives it to me with the words and everything. I'm like, well, this kind of doesn't mean anything to me. That's what I've kind of struggled with, like trying to like honor them and like keep them happy, you know. And like they've got songs they want to play, but they only play guitar, you know. But like I get the words, it's like this doesn't mean anything to me.
Is
really.
it because they put words to it?
Yeah, kind of. I think so. Like I feel like I kind of need to write it to be excited about it, which is weird, I guess. But
or were the lyrics finished?
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
I would feel that too.
Yeah.
Like,
there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I'm just working on it personally. You know what I mean?
It's just like, for me, the writing and creating, like that's the more important part. Versus like I have friends who play bass and they play bass in a band where they don't write any of the songs. They're just on the road being a bass player.
To each their own. I would definitely say the songwriting is probably my favorite part.
Like I was telling a friend the other day, and we just used Tom Petty as an example.
I love Tom Petty. Dude.
But like I would rather, you know, of course, going on tour with Tom Petty as his bass player would be amazing. But
it wouldn't be soul filling, I think.
No, no matter how many people there, no matter how much money it would make, it would just be more like a
a job,
like a tribute. I'm sure a fun job where you get to see a lot of stuff, but like, and of course, you know, that's what everyone does. Kind of, you know, if you're an artist and you still need to make ends meet, you go, you have another job, so you can work on that craft.
Absolutely.
And you know, just to be able to talk about music and have an Athens community where we can do what you and I are doing right now
exactly
is amazing. And like working at the theater and being able, like, my favorite stuff at the theater was always, and I don't think you were there long enough to when we had rooftop season.
No, I just missed it.
Because I love rooftop season.
Yeah, I like going up there and watching the shows.
Because those are the bands like from New York who are traveling through, who are like the next whatever.
Like they'll be downstairs eventually.
Yeah, like Sturgill Simpson played on the rooftop.
Really?
Yeah, I think he did like a year before I came.
Wow.
But like he, rooftop, free show, $150.
Yeah.
Meal tickets, and
Wow.
then now, like,
I didn't know that.
And now I think everyone in his team would be very upset if he came and played one show, did this whole thing to play one show at the theater. Like,
he was just doing it for the love of it, though, man.
Right.
That's when it's like great.
Well, I mean, it's just because that can happen. Like that's where some sort of magic can happen. Like whether even so, like you can see like a band like AFTM who played on the rooftop and great local band.
Yeah,
fantastic. They mix jam in a good way. They mix hard rock in a good way. Good songs, great songs. Live musicianship, like they went to school here. They have friends. Like there's a difference between like a band where they're able to bring a lot of people just because they're in a aforementioned fraternity versus like bands that continue to like who you can still be in a fraternity and have a great band
consistently,
and then people come and see that and then they want to keep supporting because they love the music. Because I go see a band that I love for a different reason than your casual music fan would be, and like
such as just an example,
like at the theater, I'm very lucky because there's bands that are coming through that I wouldn't maybe necessarily go buy a ticket
but
for.
you're just there and you kind of
and then I get to see that, or I get to see the opener. Like when I saw Hop Along open up for Modest Mouse, like I love this band Hop Along, and I can't wait to dig into it.
I miss that so much.
But if I'm buying a ticket to a concert, like there's two types of concerts you buy. Like one where like a band that you're friends with is playing, and you just want to kind of go and see what's going on and see the openers and those bands. Versus like if I was buying a ticket to a show at the Tabernacle or something like that,
you're making a trip out of it.
It's going to be a band that I
really
know.
Like. Yes, exactly.
Where I know the discography, where I know who produced it, because I kind of nerd out on that stuff.
Yeah, you've been a fan,
And of course, I have friends who just go, I know that one or two song, let's go to that concert. Yeah. To me, I could never do that. I like to know that. I like to know the
whole history usually. Yeah.
I like to know the songs, which is why I've really enjoyed the theater, because it's forced me to kind of do something that I wouldn't normally do.
It's like being at like just the Mecca every night, kind of like it's like wow, you don't know what you're gonna see tonight. It's just fantastic. I miss it.
Absolutely.
What is the, if you don't mind me asking, is there a status update? Because we talk about it all the time with all my guests. We're wondering, like, if you guys are planning on doing like 1/3 the ticket sales or anything like that.
So right now, the way I understand it is that the Georgia Theater is part of a bigger company.
Yeah, I assume it had investors, right?
Well, not anymore. Right now, it's co-owned by AEG, which is like Live Nation.
Yeah, exactly.
If Live Nation is Coke, then AEG's Pepsi, or vice versa, or something like that.
Definitely heard of it.
And they have a big presence in the North. And in the West Coast and everything, and AEG now has a presence in the South with Georgia Theater and a few other venues. Yeah. But so basically, just like Live Nation and Georgia and AEG and all of their venues, they're not opening because they haven't figured out like what the best practices are. I don't know if you saw that Ticketmaster article. I
did see that you have to get tested.
And Ticketmaster is either owned by or co-owned with Live Nation. Okay. So like, better believe whatever Ticketmaster is doing, they're going to be doing it
the same kind of thing
with the Live Nation venues. And Live Nation AEG, they also own, like AEG owns Coachella.
Oh, really?
So they do a lot of festivals.
So they're huge. Too. Yeah. Okay.
So basically, and it's an unknown question until there's a vaccine and how that works. And no one really knows anything. Okay. So. And it's kind of unprecedented times.
Yeah, so, I'd wonder just what the status update was, because a lot of smaller venues are opening back up just to kind of try to survive, which is understandable. I think
those are like independent venues.
Yeah,
I think we technically could open up. Yeah, I think we legally could open up, and it goes from state to state, but we could technically open up, but to what avail?
Yeah.
And what if something were to happen? And I think everyone's doing a very good job and being patient and trying to figure out what. So the short answer is, no status update official.
Yeah.
My
Just some thoughts on it.
My hopes is that it would be
April, January,
yeah,
July. That's what I'm kind of thinking.
late spring or
Yeah,
summer.
I'm thinking.
But I
that
mean,
hopefully, you know.
hopefully,
Yeah.
and but it also seems like hopefully or soon there will be a vaccine.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like it. Stock market surged today on vaccine hopes.
Right,
You know what I mean? So I'd wondered. Yeah, that answers a lot for me though, because I'd wondered if you guys were like privately owned, like Caledonia goes under because it's just one guy owns it or whatever. And I figured we didn't have anything to worry about 40 Watt and Georgia Theater. You guys are going to be fine, right?
Yeah,
and we can ride it out, right?
And I can't speak to 40 Watt, but
gotcha.
I do believe that both of those venues will still be intact. Now, I mean, that's not to say that it hasn't been devastating for the people.
I remember being really bummed, just thinking like, I know I was just kind of working there on the side, but like I was just thinking about all the guys we worked with that like this is their life, like this is their every day, and I was like, God.
And that's everyone. That's me too.
Yeah,
like, everyone's been furloughed and figuring out what to do, and that's. I mean, same for all venues. Like that Save Our Stages thing. I mean,
I saw that. I shared that petition. And
that's a very big deal. Now, of course, certain venues that have the big corporate company, like they're figuring that out, but those are few and far between. Like, so, I mean, some of my favorite venues are in danger.
I've heard that. Of just all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, obviously Caledonia. I was really bummed about that because the whole history behind it, the 40 Watt and all that stuff.
Caledonia was kind of my favorite place as a musician.
I never got to play there, man.
Really?
I had a show booked. It was March 19th, and COVID hit like March 7th. Had to cancel. So I was this close.
That was my favorite. One of my favorite places to play a show.
There's such a great vibe,
and to see a full crowd. Those were kind of my favorite shows. Seeing,
we talk about that place all the time. We're like, man, you get 40 people in the Donia, it's a good time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And it feels good for the artists. The artist's like, oh man, I didn't.
Like, it's great.
Yeah, and then everyone there, like, it feels like a full show. And like,
absolutely.
Did you ever go to those Athfest shows?
Yeah,
that they would do?
At the Donia.
Yeah, so they would do these things
like the club crawl. Is that right?
Well, during the day on Saturday, like the daytime, they would have like the inside outside stage of Caledonia, like back and forth with bands, like all these like cool. It's kind of like a underground kind of thing, but it was always well attended, and
that's awesome.
It's just so I definitely mourned.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The Caledonia, and
I hate that they got like. I don't like. Are they gonna get? We were talking about this last time. I guess we don't know, but it's unfortunate they got bought out by like something that's not gonna like make it into another venue. Like I guess it'd be okay.
I have no idea, but I mean, you would think that
the stage and the sound's so good in there. Surely they're not gonna rip that out.
You still have some shows there.
Yeah,
I mean, it might not be
the same
focus, but things change, and we have to unfortunately deal with the hand that we're dealt, which it's a terrible one. But
I love kind of relatively off topic, but I love like the history of Georgia theater. I'm sure have you read into this any? Like I just like looking back at all the shows, like the Police came and played there in the 70s or whatever on their first tour, and like it burning down all that stuff. I just love the Georgia theater, like the whole everybody's played there, you know what I mean? It seems like everybody who's anybody has been there.
I never got to see a show at the old Georgia Theater because every time
it burned down in 2090 or something.
I think it burned down in 2009.
Okay. So really not that long ago.
But I just know that I visited a few times, but I guess for whatever reason never went inside to see a show there. And then when I moved there for the first time, I think it was like the week of or week after, I think Jenny Lewis was going to be playing, who I'm a big fan of, from Rilo Kiley, and then it burned down, and so I never got to step foot in the old version of it. So I only know the most recent.
There really aren't that many pictures of the old one. Like, well, I'm sure there is, but like I haven't seen many like pictures of it empty or like what it actually looked like, except for the front side of it.
Yeah.
Like I've been trying to find a picture of this Police show. Like I love the Police, so I'm like geeking out. I can't find one.
Well, if you think about it, like since the new theater's been built, like there's, I can't pinpoint when cell phones you could take photos. It wasn't as
accepted.
Often. It wasn't as often. Like you get a quick snapshot of something like that. Whereas now, like everyone can be somewhere.
Yeah, it used to be pretty frowned upon. Apparently, like. No video cameras in concerts,
like no flash
and stuff.
Now you just get your phone, you take the flash off, and
it's like half the show now.
It's no big deal. Of course, then you have those like, I think Jack White does it, but I know like Dave Chappelle, like if you go see one of the shows, you put your phone
in the box.
I went to the very last Prince performance at the Fox Theater. I'm big Prince fan.
That's awesome, man.
And at that show, you put your phone
put it in a box, lock it up. That's crazy.
Or maybe they didn't. I don't know. I feel like they should have.
I don't think I'd have a problem with it. I think it'd be kind of fun, maybe like just so it's not there. Like I'm trying to get away from mine. I spend too much time on it. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to do that too, but I do like the thanks for the memories thing.
Yeah, like, that's true.
It's a.
I do get like snap memories, like a concert from like 3 years ago. I'm like, fuck, that was a good show.
I just got a snap, or my phone showed me a memory from when my first band, the District Attorneys, we did like a farewell show. At Smith's.
Okay, in Atlanta.
And some photo popped up. I was like, oh yeah, that was fun, and then I sent it to the bandmates, and it was just like,
well, that's great.
There's a positive there, but of course, it can get addictive.
Boy, can it, man? Too addictive, man.
Yeah.
So, of your past, I did a little bit of research on you. I don't know if I already told you this, but I listened through your whole catalog. Kind of.
Thank you.
What's your favorite project that you've done, like other than your solo?
I don't know.
Let's see. I wrote them all down. Party Dolls, the Purses, and the District Attorneys.
Well,
I liked Going to Carolina. That was a good song.
Thank you.
That's a great song.
I think everyone in the band, including myself, hates that
song. Really?
Yeah.
It's a good song.
But like,
it's kind of folky.
There's parts of it that I think I was listening to a lot of Black Crowes at the time. And like I like the riff.
Yeah.
And the title of the song, there's a lot of songs like the James Taylor song is called Carolina in My Mind.
Yeah.
But in the song, the hook is basically like going to Carolina, but like that's not the name of the song.
Yeah,
like it's something there are a lot.
You do that a lot, don't you? You like name the song different than something.
Just like a little different, and like I remember just thinking of the James Taylor thing, going like, because James Taylor is famous for having a song called "Something in the Way She Moves."
Okay, yeah, I know Sweet Baby James.
Right, but are you familiar with the Beatles song "Something"?
Something, yeah, it's on
It's on Abbey Road.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
And the line that George Harrison sings is "Something in the Way She Moves." The James Taylor song was written before that, and George Harrison, like I think James Taylor played that song for him, and there was kind of a little like, and so like he kind of lifted, a nod, but like no songwriting credits given to James Taylor, and but there was never an issue with that
he didn't
too.
care.
It was very like organic, like, and I love romanticizing like the whole like Jackson Browne living the Eagles and I'll hang out with Joni Mitchell and James Taylor playing guitar and like I'm not even that big of a James Taylor fan. I like some of his stuff a lot, but I couldn't say that I know his discography a lot.
His catalog, I guess.
But I just like I remember thinking, because you'll hear stories about Pink Floyd and songwriting credits, and then like something like, or like. Again, like
there's a lot of Oasis songwriting credits.
Absolutely,
some really good
like
ones.
someone like me, I like that wink and that nod.
I don't have a problem with it.
And it's not even that song Going to Carolina. It's not like the only reference to the James Taylor song is just kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of famous for that. But the song is called Carolina in My Mind. Just like Something in the Way She Moves was the name of the James Taylor song, and then George Harrison and the Something song. The Beatles song is considered one of the greatest love songs of all time, and it kind of the genesis was kind of from another song.
I imagine that even the smallest point on that record would be a chunk of change. You know
but it's kind of like you and I were just talking about like songwriting and like not wanting to, like who knows, like if George Harrison hadn't heard that James Taylor
how can
song,
you say? You know what I mean?
Or like, and there's definitely songs that I hear like I want to write a song like that. Like this new record, like. I really,
I do that a lot.
Yeah,
like I go in trying to write like something I've heard and kind of hope it sounds different.
that Party Dolls project, there's a song called
I think I liked
Sides.
Was it Indigo? Was that Party Dolls? I liked that one, and I liked Kindly Leave.
Well, okay.
Kindly Leave is
it. So I maybe lean toward the Party Dolls record because even though I don't think it's the best sonically. The song, my friend, the same one who sent me the song they wants me to write something to, he made the record with me. I mean, he like mixed it. He did the whole thing like because I don't know the knobs that well, and he was bass player, and then we had some other people play on the record, and we made that record, and a song from that record got on an episode of Supergirl,
Really?
which was awesome. And
it was, yeah, I saw the
Kindly
commercials for it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Really?
it was on it was Kindly Leave, and it paid a good.
Did you guys shop it around, or they picked it up?
So they had those like. There's people who there's people who like
tastemakers.
Like they take the song and then they had the connection with different like people at the licensing department for this studio or for this film studio or for this TV studio, and they have these budgets they have to hit no matter what. And it's like one of those things like, oh man, if I could just get this one person to hear this one song. And that one record, this guy was like, hey, sign this contract and I'll shop this one record. And I was like, cool, you want to hear any of the district attorneys or purchase stuff? He's like, no, I just like this one record. Okay, but I promise you, it's just it really all kind of sounds the same. I promise you, it's just like maybe a better song.
You do have a similar vibe.
Right, like
you know what I
I'm
mean?
definitely not like even the new song I released, like sure, it's a little different, but like it's all kind of pop rock stuff. Like if you like this so much, I promise you'll like the newer stuff or even the older stuff. But he's like, no, it's like this Party Dolls record. But that Party Dolls record is I had gotten into more of a understand like songwriting and like like getting more comfortable with talking about things that are real.
Yeah. Okay.
Versus like just like kind of going like, oh, this sounds cool.
Yeah.
Because like Oasis does that.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
A lot of their lyrics are gibberish and make no sense, and I love
some of
them.
them make so much like without it's still kind of gibberish. But why does it make so much sense?
I love that, and like even like Coldplay stole that from them too.
Yeah.
Like
they do it well too.
They do very well.
They do very well.
That like. Something that means something to someone, but also can mean something different to a different person.
Like just vague enough to work.
Like, how do you describe the song "Yellow"? Like
that's like the perfect example. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? But it means
so
something
much, to everyone, and probably a little different.
Yeah,
and just like the way people absorb content.
Exactly.
But like Indigo is probably like. But anyway, like going to Carolina, like I feel like the chorus was just kind of lazy writing, but like at the start that was kind of like the best thing that we had.
I think there's a harmonica on there. Am I right?
Yeah,
I like it.
Play some harmonica.
It kind of reminded me of the Eagles, kind of.
I love the Eagles.
Love
the Eagles.
They have a great documentary.
The best that's the best documentary.
It's like fucking 4 hours long. It's so good.
It's the two-part. Do you know who Bill Simmons is?
Bill Simmons. It sounds super familiar.
He used to be the sports guy, like ESPN sports guy, and he came up with Grantland, which was this great blog. It was owned by ESPN. He left ESPN and he started the Ringer. Which is a great blog too. But write this down, because if you love the Eagles documentary,
loved it,
and I love the Eagles. I have a lot.
Me too.
My wife hates the Eagles, and a lot of people like to shit on the Eagles, and
that's bullshit.
And and like the Big Lebowski, like great movie, and like fuck the Eagles. That's so funny. I agree, but I do really like the Eagles. And I do really like Don Henley and Joe Walsh and all that stuff.
And Glenn's a great.
I love them all. Yes. And as like Hell Freezes Over was like my first record.
Yeah,
like the thing that got me in.
I thought it was extremely solid.
Oh yeah.
And 30 years later, or whatever.
And I've watched the live concert of the Hell Freezes Over thing, and that's what kind of got me into music as a very young person. That's awesome. My tastes have grown since then, but I still appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I love the Eagles, but even if you don't, you need to read this Bill Simmons Grantland article about the history of the Eagles.
All right.
It is one of the funniest things. And it's basically him becoming obsessed with this documentary, explaining why it's so good and why he explains.
Okay.
And if anything that you're writing down, I beg you to read that Bill Simmons article and text me after, because it is so enjoyable. But
I would love to.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the stuff we've released, like I like, like the record they're about to release more than anything before, and I think it has to be that way, because if I felt any different, I probably wouldn't keep doing it. But
exactly.
I like the Party Dolls record. I really like Indigo. I think that was a really cool moment.
It's kind of like a chill thing too.
Yeah,
it's really.
I really like how the guitars sound on that. Like I go back and listen to old stuff, and I'm like, I like from the District Attorney's record. I was like, I really like that song, and I really like these parts. I think man, maybe if I had more confidence as a singer, or maybe if we maybe that would have been turned up and we could maybe dial back on some of
Yeah.
the reverb or something like that, or the Persis stuff. But I feel like I'm finally just starting to gain a little more confident with my
It's great, man.
with my singing and
Yeah.
like listening to my own voice. It's still
It's a
a
very
huge
mental
struggle.
confidence thing. Singing is. It's not, a lot of it is like confidence instead of technique. I
So
think.
that reminds me of two things I want to bring up, and one has to do with the Caledonia, and kind of full circle, kind of what we're talking about in terms
Yeah.
of like having a, like, I guess, a positive attitude. You play a show,
Uh-huh.
and then for whatever reason, even if you think you had a good show, or even if you thought you had a bad show, if you couldn't really hear something or whatever,
Yeah.
like a friend or someone, or even someone you don't know, like maybe a fan or something, or like would come up and say, "Really enjoyed your set," and the first thing that would go like, "Oh man, I can't really hear myself," and like, "Thank you," like whatever.
Yeah, I
but
do
like,
that too,
I do
man.
that too. But like,
Yeah.
and then I started thinking like,
They don't want to hear that.
they don't want to
shit.
hear
They
that.
don't care.
They watched your show
Yeah.
and they said that thing. Like, you don't have to bring them down. Like, you don't have to go like, "Yeah, man, that was good." But you just like, "Thank you very much," and like, and just take the win. And
Yes,
like,
I'm
if you want
super
to,
guilty of that. I'd be like, man, my fucking vocal was in the monitor. I couldn't hear
Right.
myself. Like, they don't fucking
and
care.
they don't know,
Yeah,
and they
have
don't
no idea.
care, and
I'm like, damn, we butchered that last song. But like, they're like,
but
ah.
maybe they enjoy it. Like, and you
Yeah.
say you like going to Carolina. Like,
Mhm.
to me, like if someone sends me a song of theirs and I listen to it, whether it's you
Mhm.
or a friend of mine, like
Yeah.
me knowing you or me knowing, the well kept guys,
Yeah,
and then
Tommy.
Tommy sent me a track and like I listen to it, even if it's like not done, like I
Mhm.
still like. If someone sends me something, I listen to it like my brain just. I don't go like, "Oh man, those guitars weren't EQ'd well," or like I can tell that guy wasn't that confident in his singing. Like
Yeah,
I hear something that someone sends me as fact.
exactly.
It's fact.
Yeah.
And so like that was the intention, and it's all positive. And
Yeah.
but like if I listen to my own stuff, I'm like,
Yes.
like every time I listen to my own stuff, I'm like, what are you doing? Like finish
That's
that
so
vowel, or
funny.
like that guitar, like
That's so
like that
accurate,
drum
man.
hit. But like, and so when I listen to my stuff, like sometimes I'll just smoke pot or something, just try to get outside of my head. So if I can, because like I'll walk around like, oh, okay, maybe I'm in a good mood to listen to my own stuff. And like
Yeah,
I walked by it
dude.
and like, because like also when I listen to a track, either you send me or Tommy sends me, I'm not
Diagnosing
I'm not
every
diagnosing
second.
it. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. And it's hard to
Yes.
kind of enjoy your own
Yes,
stuff. And
God.
it's taken me like 10 years to start kind of. That's
I
why
know
I really
exactly what you
like.
mean.
I love listening to demos because I know in my head this ain't the real thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
you
like,
can, like-
and then I get demoitis, as my friend Matt Martin calls it.
Uh-huh.
And then like love the
Yeah.
demo, except for I only love the demo because I tricked my brain into that.
Yeah, dude, I know exactly what you got to be in the mood to listen to your own music. Like you can't be like
Mm-hmm.
you got to be just riding high for me at least. Like or else I'm gonna go in there and be like, fuck, the vocal's not loud enough on this shit. Why did I mix this shit bad? Or why did I do this
Right.
and that? When really, it's fucking fine. Like each song just gets you to the next song.
Mhm.
That's how I look at it. Like maybe I did fuck up the last song, but
Right.
now I know not to because like
Right.
I'm listening back thinking, wow, this master or this mix is garbage. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which
But-
doesn't happen to me much.
But
like,
but also most people, your average person doesn't even think
they
about
don't
mix
care.
or master.
Yeah,
Like
they have no idea.
oh, who mastered this? They did a terrible job. Like like my wife will catch me listening to my own music, and she's like, "Oh man, you're so obsessed with it yourself." I was like, "That might be true, but also the reason why I'm listening to it is because I'm trying to make sense of it and
Yes,
understand it, and
exactly.
trying to like. It's not because I'm an egotistical maniac. That's the whole nother reason. The reason why I'm listening to this is so I can. It is me like essentially in a mental fetal position trying to like
Figure it out.
and that's like, and I don't, it's hard for someone to understand. It's like, okay, well, no one's making you release music, no one's
Yeah.
making you do music, so I don't get this internal struggle. And then like you're posting about your song online, so clearly like you're very into yourself. Like yes, kind of, but also sort of like it's just this like
It's
just
right,
what you
man.
have to do
Yeah.
because
Like I'll get in my head, I'll be like, oh my god, I haven't released a
Right.
song in fucking 3 months. I'm like,
Mhm.
I've been fucking lazy. Like I've been doing it. Like no, like it's like I don't have to do it. Like you know what I mean? Like it's fine.
right,
Like
but
I overthink things. You know what I mean?
yeah, it was like
Yeah.
something saying at the beginning, like at this point, like I don't. Everyone who I've wanted to hear the record, I've sent it to.
Yeah.
Like the people that like in
I
my
know what you're saying.
people in my like I have friends from high school that I would
Yeah.
or like
Would love to love it.
or I've loved them to love
Yeah.
it or like, but they're not gonna. They just go, it's good, but they're not gonna obsess over it like I would, and like why would they? And even more so for the fact that they know who I am. They know who I am, and so like, but I have about I sent you the record. I made my wife listen to it, and then my other music friends who like I make music with or who help me make the record or help with like and like these are the people who I want to.
So you're good.
To gab about it.
You're happy now, right?
I'm happy now.
That's all you needed.
And the only other thing is like, okay, well, might as well release it. And then, and if there's someone who's like 15 and listening to a song, like the way I ingested music when I was 15 through, I guess now, and they can listen to someone that's kind of cool. I do like that. Cool. I do love the idea of someone, being inspired to write something. Mm-hmm. Do you listen to Death Cab for Cutie at all?
I don't think so. Never heard of them.
It's just got they're a very successful band. You ever heard of Postal Service?
Postal Service, yes.
The lead singer of that's his main band. Is Death Cab for Cutie.
I don't know much about him, but
his name's Ben Gibbard, and he's been on a bunch of stuff. He's part of that whole that's the West Coast scene or whatever. Okay. But he was actually supposed to play at the theater in April.
Really? Bummer.
Like a solo acoustic show. And I was so excited for that because he was going to do like Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie songs, but. I remember when he released his first solo record, I listened to one single. I was like I didn't rip it off, but I was like, okay, I see how he's kind of like just kind of, for lack of a better term, farting out these pop like simple pop songs. And I was like, I kind of like that. I kind of like not if I'm writing a song and like trying to put everything into it. No. You just like pick up the guitar and like just see it,
and that's what it is.
And like enjoy that for that moment, and then go on the next song. Yeah. And that was kind of very influential.
I get caught up in the arrangement like too hard. Like, all right, I got to write a song. It can't be more than 3 minutes and 15 seconds because people's attention spans are short. I got to do this and that. Yeah, and I end up not writing anything.
I used to be a 2.5-er.
Oh, what now?
Like I used to like having my songs be in the 2.5 minute range.
Yeah, and that's cool. Though. I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah,
I'm starting to be okay with the 4 minute.
Yeah, okay.
4.5.
I'm the other way around. Mine have all been 4.5, and I'm trying to bring them down because I do love the short songs. I just haven't found a way to do it yet.
And like, because the way I listen to music, if there's a song I like, I'm gonna listen to it 70 times. And like, I will listen to a song.
I put it on a playlist and I wear it out. You know what I mean? Until I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
One that I think you were the one that told me to listen to this one. It hadn't clicked for me until like recently. It was Little by Little by OASIS. I don't know why I didn't get it at first, and then I fucking wore it out. It's a great song. Because
like for me, that was the first like studio record release. Like when they were on tour for that record, Heathen Chemistry.
Yeah, okay.
That's when I kind of got into them. I was like, maybe.
And you said you saw them twice in this era.
I saw them at the Tabernacle when they were on tour for Heathen Chemistry. I
had no idea that they'd even been to Georgia. I figured they never made it this far.
No, and I think Heathen Chemistry, that was 2 records removed from Be Here Now, so they're kind of dying down. Now, of course, Selling Up Tabernacle is still pretty
dying in.
But in the UK, they sell.
Noel's got the big sideburns now.
Absolutely. But they, like, my favorite Oasis record is probably the Master Plan because of all the B-sides.
Yeah, it really is so good. It's a contemplation or whatever.
And of course, like, What Storm, Morning Glory, and definitely maybe, or like the Touchstones. But to me, like, I associate a lot with that Heathen Chemistry record because that's what really got me into
I think you told me that. I was surprised that it wasn't one of the first 3 for you. I was surprised. I think mine is, which is the easy answer, I guess, which is What the Story, Morning Glory for me. I think that one resonates the most for me all the way. I can listen to it.
And I probably just have to pick that if I'm thinking of the general.
Depends on the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, because sometimes it's definitely maybe.
Yeah, definitely maybe. God, it's so good.
But
so
like,
good.
My parents and my wife know that my funeral song is Half the World Away if something happens to me.
That's a great one, man.
It's one of my favorites.
I think mine would be Live Forever. Have you ever heard, I'm sure you have, the Live Forever acoustic version on YouTube. Have you ever listened to that one? It's just Noel. Yeah. It's like a demo.
Absolutely.
That one like almost brings me to tears when I listen to it. It's so fucking good.
I love that one. And like what I love about Oasis in general is that it's good songs. They can be rocked out. It can also be just as good with him, just acoustic guitar.
Exactly.
And I do prefer. I think Noel has a prettier voice. Liam has a cool voice. They have a lot of style and strut and everything. It's just
they're a dual threat kind of thing. I feel like inside me, I feel like they might get back together one day. Do you feel like there's a chance? 5, 10, if Liam would stop talking so much shit on Twitter, you know what I mean?
I have no idea. Like, and I think it would be cool. But then again,
they're making great solo records right now.
I love seeing a full Noel show.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. I haven't seen either of them.
It's great.
Yeah,
And I would
'cause
love to see Liam show. And
Liam was
does,
coming to shaky knees. I was gonna go, and they fucking canceled it.
And Liam does at least 50% Oasis
Yeah, he does.
songs.
Yeah.
And so like let him do that, and then Noel can do his thing. And then
He's
like,
got some great solo records. So like I like If I Had a Gun and all that
that's
stuff.
great.
Great stuff.
I love all three of the solo records and the EPs. I think Chasing Yesterdays, the second one from top to finish, is probably his best. But there's gems on all of them.
There really is. What's the other song? His latest song, there was one I really liked. I can't think of the name of it. It was kind of synthy, the kind of synth pop thing he does.
Oh yeah, and we're getting a little more techno.
Yeah. I liked it though.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's good. It's got a good voice.
Like let him kind of like venture off, and then like Liam will stick to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, the rocking standards, I guess. But yeah, both great. Yeah, I just hope one day.
Yeah,
I feel like it'd be fucking huge if they did.
I don't know what. I mean, I hope that. I wish the Smiths and REM and Oasis would all get together.
I feel like REM's not out either. Like, I mean, they called it, but like I could see it happening, couldn't you?
I mean, at least there's no bad blood there.
Yeah, I mean, Democracy, they all ended together pretty much. Yeah.
There's bad blood between Oasis and the Smiths. There's no bad blood between REM and it's not like. I think that they could. There's plenty of time. I don't think the way that Michael Stipe sings and the way that they all play.
They all seem healthy.
It's not a young man. It's not saying that like
they could.
That's easy what they do, but like Michael Stipe. I don't think he's going to lose his voice.
I don't think so.
I don't think
you gotta have a Michael Stipe quality to your voice. No, have you ever heard that before? Is that a little weird to say?
No.
It's kind of low, not low, fairly low in the mix, kind of. Don't you think? And like a little haunting.
I try.
Kind of a
usually
Michael Stipe Third Eye Blind thing.
I love both of those bands. Like I'm obsessed with Third Eye Blind and REM and so all that stuff. So
you
definitely comes out.
All your stuff has a '90s, 2000s kind of sound to it. Is that fair? Would you say?
I mean, that's definitely what I strive for.
Yeah, I love those bands too.
Strive for. I mean, like I usually kind of like let the song write itself, and then like I start kind of like it's got like this like. Third Eye Blind feel like that new song that I sent you, like Swimming in Bed. I was like, I want this to be kind of like Oasis meets Third Eye Blind meets a little bit of The Cure meets like a little.
I 100% could see that. It instantly struck me as Third Eye Blind, kind of like just a great song, great sing-alonger. You know what I mean? Which is great.
I love Third Eye Blind.
Me too, man.
So much.
Well, they're still together. They're still making music.
They are still making music.
Have you listened to any of it? I think the last one I heard was.
they've released.
Was
the first record, self-titled "Blue," Out of the Vein, then Ursa Major.
I think the first two are my favorite for sure.
First two are great, but Out of the Vein and Ursa Major are both great records, and
Out of the Vein.
Dopamine.
Dopamine, yeah, I've listened to Dopamine.
So they've released 6 full records, which is kind of crazy for a band that's been around for 23 years.
That is kind of crazy. That's a lot.
But I think of the 6 records, the first 5 I think are like 5 for 5, all great.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess I haven't dug into them enough because the first 2 are the
sixth
ones.
one, I'm not going to write it off, but it just hasn't meant that much to me just yet.
It hasn't clicked yet. Okay. I feel like they could come play the theater. I mean,
they did?
Did they?
They did 2 nights.
2 nights. When? Like recently?
Years ago. It was on my birthday.
Oh, really? Did you go?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. I was there. I got to. It was amazing, and and the theater gets lucky, or not lucky because it deserves it, but a lot of people want to come to Athens and play a historic city like Athens and play a place like the Georgia Theater, but artists like Modest Mouse or Third Eye Blind or Dwight Yoakam or My Morning Jacket would come and play the theater for a reasonable ticket price because they want to play Athens and play even though they should be playing at venues that are 6
That's true, and they easily could. You know what I mean? So they just do 2 nights. I think that's really cool.
It's great.
It's really special. Like the venue's nice when they're coming like
and
down.
The artist is into it for the right reasons. Kind of,
definitely
because they want to be inspired as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are an hour 20 in. Do you have any closing thoughts for us? That's beautiful. Anything you need? Any record promotion you need to give right now? Everybody, keep your eyes peeled for swimming in the pool. Is that correct?
Yeah, swimming in the pool. It's called swimming in bed.
Yes, correct.
Which is not a real It's not a real activity.
It doesn't. It only says it a few times though, doesn't it? Is that right?
I think it says it like 2 or 3 times.
That's cool,
I had the title before I wrote the song. And for me, it's just tossing and turning in bed,
gotcha.
and like kind of when you're like that dream, like when you're kind of restless and you're just kind of
kind of like a
kind of stay in place,
hallucinogenic sleep or what?
Yeah, or just like or just kind of restless in there and just kind of trying to get comfortable.
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
a lot of my
All in
songs
your
are
head.
about getting comfortable. I don't know why, and just kind of like
It's a good thing.
just kind of like, you know,
Yeah.
don't
know
worry
exactly what you mean.
and enjoy. But yeah, the new song, "The Cut of My Jib," is out now, and
listen.
and "Swimming in Bed" comes out December 11th, and we'll be announcing stuff about the new record sometime next year. And
Can't
this was
wait.
really fun.
Thank you for coming,
could
man.
have done. I didn't know how long this went by. We could have done this for. I thought we could have done this for another hour and a half.
We really could have. I said, eventually you got to cut it, you know.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I always know it's a good one when it goes over an hour.
Yeah.
I'm like, if it went over an hour, we didn't have any trouble. We had a great time.
I love long form. But you got to read that Bill Simmons.
I will, and I absolutely will let you know what I think.
Cool.
Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Today's guest was Drew Beskin. Give him a wave.
Oh yeah, last thing, I didn't realize it was gonna be filmed, so I'm sorry that I'm wearing shorts and
Beautiful.
and flip flops.
Look at those legs. You love to see that. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Jameson on the Rocks podcast. This was a fun one. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, we very much appreciate it. Thank you, Drew, for coming in.
Thank you all so much. Thank you
See
so much.
ya. Bye.
What a beautiful time to take over the world. What a beautiful time. She's all down, make it go. What a beautiful way to take the world by storm. Now it's you instead. Don't you want, you too hot, you too hot, you too hot to hold. You too hot to hold. You too hot to hold. You too